What's going on, everybody? It's your boy, Danny the Bull, back with another live stream here on a Saturday to talk to you, to talk with you guys about the overall market, about Metacade, which put in a God candle, an absolute God candle 2 nights ago. I think it was the night of my last stream. That was Thursday night. Metacade went off and it's holding up strong. So we'll talk some more about that one. We will talk about Chuck, which is also on a roll, up over 20% on the day and 55%, I want to say, or 60% over the last few weeks. We will revisit my thoughts on OMI, as I am always going to be an OMI community member, and people are always asking about my updated thoughts on OMI. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about any altcoins that you want to talk about. And we will have Ron, my good friend Ron's Crypto Therapy, joining about midway through the stream to give us his thoughts on the market and his thoughts on alts. And Ron always has a lot of great thoughts and a lot of good tricks up his sleeves. So let's go Saturday. We got Dabatola in the house from the Dirty DJs. Let's go. What's good? Scotty, too hotty. We got Jomi in the house. What's going on, Jomi? Good friend of mine. Good to see you too. Thinking about selling my gold base cartel NFT for $1,000 and put it in crypto. What are your thoughts? Sitting on a 20x, another 5x, and got the 100x. I don't understand that last part, but it's not a bad idea. It's not a bad thought to sell. I mean, the gold base cartel, I think you already have a couple of other base cartel NFTs. For anyone that doesn't know, the base cartel NFTs give you a slow drip of rewards from meme tokens and Metacade. All these base projects, there's over, I think, $130,000 in the reward pool that trickles down to, I think there are 1,500 NFTs. Now, what you could do is sell the gold, and you could, if you want those rewards still, you could buy 2 bronze, right? Because I think the gold is 2x the rewards of the bronze. If you can get 2 bronze, 1 cheaps, if you're still cheap, if you're still interested in, getting those rewards. But, $1,000 in a bull market, if you put it into a nice, safe play, you could turn that 1,000 into, 10 exit, 20 exit. So it's not a bad idea. It depends on, what you want to do. And also, we don't know what the gold will bring in the future, right? If I think it's going to unlock events, but if you're not interested in that, then it doesn't really matter. So not a bad idea. It's $1,000 that you can turn into. I don't think you'd regret it if you turned it into 10,000, but we'll see. Those are my thoughts, brother. Russ G in the house. Metacade getting some traction. Absolutely. Holders up. Gaining pace. LFG, congrats on Chuck. Both of them doing well. Metacade with an absolute God candle. We're going to talk about it. Super bullish. I've been bullish on Metacade for a very long time. Probably over a year now. And I think now we're seeing the fruits of the team's labor paying off on the chart. The one thing that Metacade needed was token awareness. Well, besides the narrative, besides the macro changing, right? Because everything was down. But I always thought that what they needed was to set themselves apart in terms of marketing, token awareness. They're doing just that. They've been attacking it. And I think a couple whales maybe got in and totally blew up the chart, man. I think it was up 150% in less than an hour. We'll talk about it a little later. I want to go through some stuff, but we'll definitely talk about Metacade absolutely sending. And not only that, but it's good to see it holding strong. So there was the inevitable dip, but it's holding strong after the God candle. Let's go, Metacade. Yeah, absolutely, brother. Finally able to watch a live stream. Yeah, I'm going to be trying to do some live streams regularly now. It's all about, for me, getting into a rhythm. and get, once I get the motivation to do one and two, and get a couple going, and then space it out and create a schedule for myself. But I'm looking forward to doing just that. So make sure you hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I mean, if the $1,000 makes a 5x of my initial investment, yeah, $50, that's $5,000. You can't go wrong with that, Jomi. You really can't go wrong with that. So, I don't think that's a bad play at all. $1,000, put that into solid plays, and you're cooking, brother. So, Mark in the house. How you doing, homie? Nice to see you. Doing well. I know you're doing well. I seen that you had an addition to the family. Congratulations to you and your wife. HG in the house. What's good? Let's get started. Fill up the comments with questions and all that stuff. Make it as interactive as possible. But I was talking in my last stream on Thursday about how this is the perfect setup for crypto, for the overall market. We are now just over 200 days past the halving, which historically is when Bitcoin starts putting in new highs and really starts moving. On top of that, you've got a new president of the United States who, like him or hate him, politics aside, the market likes him. And you have a crypto-friendly government that wants to make the USA the home of, or put them at the forefront of this whole sector. On top of that, we've got rate cuts and favorable, macro, a more favorable economic outlook and environment, one that is particularly friendly towards high risk assets like Bitcoin and altcoins. So the perfect setup is here. You really couldn't ask for a better setup for this, alt season to prospectively kick off. And it hasn't started yet. We've seen coins going up, right? Ethereum back to $3,000, Solana back to $200. Some of the bigger caps are moving. Some of the smaller caps like Metacade just did put in a 150% move in a day, right? You'll see things like that popping off, but alt season is not here, right? And it probably won't be here for a couple more months in the very least. I think we'll see more of this, gradual increase in alts with an occasional like pop off, like occasionally every, a particular coin putting in a big God candle and a big move. But we're not yet at that place where, alts are all going nuts, but it's coming. The setup is there. And, there are going to be catalysts in the market and things in the market that are going to push us higher and higher. And it's really looking great. All right. So Bitcoin currently at 76K, the weekly close coming in tomorrow. If it puts in a weekly close anywhere near its all-time high, you can expect, I would expect $80,000 or more next week, possibly. And, looking at possible six-figure Bitcoin in the year 2024, within the next 8 weeks. And we'll have Ron on later, and he's good at reading, charts and candles. And so we'll get his thoughts on that. But the setup is there. The setup is here for an Ethereum, a $4,000 Ethereum by the end of the year. It's now a 30% move away from a $4,000 ETH. And people just 2 weeks ago were counting ETH out. They were, fudding it. They were saying that it's, it's dead, it's old, it's going to get left behind. But ETH is doing exactly what it's done in previous cycles, right? It's lagged behind Bitcoin. And, right around this time is when it starts picking up. And so one thing that we've learned yet again is don't bet against the cycle, right? The cycle has been ridiculously consistent. It's been ridiculously consistent. And if we continue to not bet against the cycle, what can we expect? We can expect alt season to kick off 2025, top out probably end of third quarter, early fourth quarter, of 2025 and see some explosive gains in a lot of the coins that we're holding. So it's going to be a lot of fun. The whole macro is set up. You've had the Dow topping 44,000 for the first time ever, new all-time high. S&P 500, new all-time high, crossed 6,000 points for the first time in history. So, and the stock market has been putting in all-time highs for months. And I've said this when people, have been questioning during the sideways chop that capitulated a lot of people and tired people out. The one thing that has been consistent, the stock market has consistently been putting in, new highs. And that's all over the world. Stock market in, I think, Australia also, stock markets in other countries have been putting in all-time highs. And so it hasn't felt to, like, I guess, everyday people that that the economy is strong, but the markets have been strong. And it was just a matter of time for Bitcoin to put a new all-time high in. And it's just a matter of time for all of these alts to start running. So I said it last time. If you've been here, congratulations. We're in for a nice run. It's going to be a lot of fun. And just some, cover some news before we get into the alts. This was earlier today, Texas Governor Greg Abbott on Bitcoin mining, saying Texas is already the home of crypto mining. It should become the crypto capital. You have, now you have people empowered in states to try to get to the forefront of this crypto market and try to, become the crypto capital of the world, which is great to see. You've got now speculation that Gary Gensler is going to resign by the end of the year. There were reports today that he's been asked by people in the party to put in his resignation before the end of the year, before he can get fired. I personally would rather see him get fired. I'd rather see him get fired than resign and take the easy way out. But either way, it's addition by subtraction for this crypto market that's been persecuted by him and his cronies. And there's been a dark cloud over this sector where we thought that maybe, they would drive it offshore for sure, but also, ruin it with their regulation through litigation and their countless lawsuits, most recently against IMX, right? They're suing Coinbase. All of these lawsuits that they've levied in an attempt to, regulate through litigation. And so getting rid of him is addition by subtraction. Replacing him with someone who is crypto friendly is a huge boon to this industry and to this market. And one of the front runners is Mark Ueda, who has publicly said the commission's war on crypto must end. And so again, the setup couldn't be any better. All right, here we have a Rect Capital chart showing you the next phase. We've entered it. It's this green. If you follow them, they have these color-coded charts. And this green phase on the right, that's the parabolic phase of the market. All right. So the setup is there. German parliament member Joanna Kotar says, if the U.S. buys Bitcoin as a strategic reserve, then I think all the European countries will get FOMO. So it's not just the fact that the U.S., may use it as a strategic reserve. It's the signal it sends to the rest of the world to get on board. And then, once we get to a six-figure Bitcoin, there's going to be talk of a seven-figure Bitcoin. The target moves, right? The next inevitable target will be $250,000. I don't know if we get there this cycle, but a 500,000 Bitcoin and a $1 million Bitcoin is a 10x away from 100,000. So not that we're getting there anytime soon, but it becomes a more realistic target, right? It seemed far-fetched at one point, but we're getting closer to realizing Bitcoin as, what it was intended for. So all super bullish. Van Eck CEO says Bitcoin's value will be half of all the gold outstanding. So something like $300,000 is his prediction. And this is what's going to happen. You're going to see calls now that likely won't happen, right? You're going to see people come out and put numbers on the board and make calls for certain price targets. And, a lot of them are going to be big numbers, right? So keep it in mind. Check the FOMO, have realistic expectations, but, things are looking very good. I don't know if we get to 300,000 Bitcoin this cycle. Also, Mike Novogratz says Trump allowing banks to custody Bitcoin and hold it on their balance sheet will bring in hundreds of billions into the ecosystem. So again, these are all things that are now in play and that can catalyze this market and push Bitcoin to new heights. Because in a bear market, you can get bullish news, but if the trend is down, it doesn't reverse the trend. But in a bull market, news events like this can catalyze the market and, it will push it up higher. So there are a bunch of different catalysts that are now in play with a changing of the guard on its way come January. And one more bit of news. MicroStrategy will spend $10 billion buying Bitcoin next year, which is more than the total amount it has spent buying Bitcoin since 2020. What a savage Michael Saylor is. They're going to put another $10 billion into Bitcoin. So I'm bullish. And you should be bullish too, and I think you all are. And it's that time. It's the perfect setup. So let's talk altcoins. We're going to get into the three that I said, and I'll talk to you guys about any comments you guys have. And then Ron will come on, and it's going to be a good stream. We got Jordan Riz in the house. What's good? He's in the bathtub. Jordan's favorite place when he wakes up in Australia. Jumps in his giant bathtub, which is a little strange that he's naked right now. Tony Smith, Danny, owe me, homie, to the moon. Guys, sell everything and buy Omi, guys. Please, no, don't do that. Diversify. Don't sell and buy. Don't sell everything and buy. Don't go all in on anything. Agreed. We are primed for great things. All right. We're going to talk about Omi in a little while. We'll talk about all the news. But let's first talk about Metacade. Here's Metacade. This is, give me a second. Up 11% on the day. Look at that. God candle. This was on Thursday. When I was streaming, it was down here. And then it put in an absolute God candle. It went up, I think, a good like 160%. It was ironic because during the stream, Mohammed Siddiqui expressed his frustrations about Metacade, saying, what's going on with it? It's been down, doesn't look promising. And all it takes is one God candle to reverse sentiment and change the trajectory, right? And it's been holding up well, which is, more important is that it sold off naturally, right? But it held up. And it's even, gaining some more momentum. And I think this is because of the work that they've been putting in on marketing and on building out the platform. They've been going hard on marketing. And let me see. I think I mentioned this Yeah, I think I talked about this in my last stream, but they've got Crypto Poet on board online, right, on Twitter. He's had 90,000 followers. He's on board and now pushing Metacade. You've got some other smaller people brought in as, I guess, ambassadors. And yeah, here's the news about Crypto Poet being onboarded. And Russ talked about a unicorn, right? A partnership that was going to set them apart, that was going to put them on the map. And that hasn't quite been announced yet. They also announced yesterday a new game, a first-person shooter game that incorporates top memes. Try to find it. There's so much news. This is the feed. There's so much news here. 250 new holders in a single day. You've got to go through all of this stuff to find this. Yeah, Polygunners. The first community-centered first-person shooter game with some very familiar faces. So this is dope. And in it, you've got, that's Base Brett right there. I don't see Chuck in here. I'm going to have to talk to Russ. Where's Chuck? But these are some other meme coins. So they're leaning in to this meme super cycle, which I think is really smart. And I think it makes sense for gaming, because gaming is a community-centered, sector, right? It's very community-centered. Meme coins are community-driven. It makes sense to marry the two. And, Russ has partnered with the Base Cartel. He's already incorporated Chuck into Metacade Play to Earn tournaments. He's now incorporating all these other tokens on Base into Metacade tournaments, which is going to give exposure to all of these communities, right? And these communities are made up of hundreds of people. And so it's a great way to onboard all of these people who maybe didn't know about Metacade and gain exposure in the Base ecosystem and position themselves as, the premier gaming ecosystem on Base Network. The field is wide open. They made a really smart strategic decision migrating to Base. They were going to migrate to Matic, right? But Russ saw the writing on the wall and pivoted and moved to Base. So all good decisions. And I love to see what they're doing over there on Metacade. I think that they're primed. And just a reminder, we talk about how this was sideways for months and then had this God candle. It doesn't take a ton of money to move charts. If you consider that the overall crypto market is only $2.6 trillion, which seems like a lot. That's less than Apple, right? The biggest stock in the stock market. It's less than, the top stock, 2.6 trillion. It doesn't take trillions of dollars to come into the space to move these charts. And so we're going to continue to see days like Metacade had, not only for Metacade, for a bunch of tokens, right? They're going to start popping off. I think it's going to be like little by little at first, and then it's going to be whole sectors moving, and it's going to be a lot of fun. So strap in. Joss in the house. Dabatola. What's good, brother? A few weeks ago, there was a hack on a Mcade whale, and the hacker dumped. Yes. Yeah, there was also the Bing X. Bing X was compromised, and a whole bunch of Metacade was sold off, right, through that hack also. So they've had some bad luck, but Good things are coming. And now still only at a $17 million market cap, there is a ton of space for them to grow. Consider that Nakamoto Games, which is a good comparable, I think. You know what? They have Telegram games. They have tournament games. They're at $100 million market cap. So right now, Metacade makes up less than 20% of Naka's market cap. I think it's going to close that gap. And I hold them both. But I do think it's going to close that gap. And look at this chart right here. Speaking of closing gaps, so we got Chuck gaining momentum back to $2.5 million market cap, up almost 20% on the day. This is the 4-hour chart for Chuck, and it's doing well. It's rebounding, held a strong floor at 1.5 million for months, right? It never went below that. And it's now starting to rebound alongside ETH. And remember that as ETH moves, all of these meme coins that are tied to ETH are going to move alongside it, right? And if there's buying pressure, they're going to outperform Ethereum. And we're seeing that from Chuck. And of course, I'm heavily biased, full disclosure. I represent Chuck on the official Twitter account and speak in spaces and things like that. But I think Chuck is, primed alongside a lot of these other base projects to run in what is going to be a meme super cycle. And, Dabatola knows all about meme coins. If you're into memes, follow Dirty Degens, Cryptos R Us Plus. I think it's Alpha First now, actually. They did a rebrand, but great source of information on meme coins. But we're going to see a meme super cycle. We're in it. Memes have outperformed every sector, including AI, so far this sector. And I think they're going to continue to do so. Right? I talked about it last stream. There are now more than 10% of the top 100 is made up of meme coins. You've got Bonk at 54, Doge or Pepe here at 24. That'll be top 20 soon, most likely. Doge pushing past 20 cents now that Elon is creating the Department of Government Efficiency. We're in a meme super cycle. People like meme coins. Normies like meme coins. I think people don't necessarily fall for the narrative that tokens need utility. And, I think people are onto crypto now and understand that it's a narrative-driven, community-driven space. And everything is effectively a meme coin trading off of a narrative, right, is one way to look at it. So we're seeing tons of meme coins do well. SPX is at a $700 million market cap now. And look at this chart. All right, this has gone crazy since October, November, right? And there are many charts like this, and I think we're going to see many more charts like this. And meme projects that have strong communities, that have withstood the test of time, that have held the floor, that are, continuing to spread awareness and holding, are going to do well. So proud to be a member of the Chuck community. It's been a wild ride. Went up to $32 million all-time high in the first 2 months. And it's been a battle ever since, right? Because there have been really adverse market conditions, but now we're starting to see the tide change. So let's go, mother chuckers. Let's see what else we got in the comments. Jomi says, normally the market tanks if I buy. Not anymore, Jomi. You were buying at the wrong times. You're probably chasing in the chop. Caro in the house. What's good, brother? Doge going crazy. I don't know about a 10x. Let's look back at Doge. I don't know about a 10x would be big, man. 10x would be a $300 billion market cap. I could see it breaking 100, but it's still early in the cycle, so I could see it putting in a 5x from here, maybe $1.50. 10x would be a lot, a $300 billion market cap, but I think it will set precedent as the first meme coin to break 100 billion. And then, those prices act as magnets for other coins, right? So when you look at something like Brett and, Pepe, those are going to reach the levels that there's a good chance they're going to reach levels that Shiba and Doge hit last cycle, right? Seeing 40 bill, 60 bill. And then what happens is, money rotates into the smaller projects and those go nuts. So it's going to be fun to watch. Doge now has this narrative of Department of Government Efficiency. It's going to, it's going to be tweeted throughout this next whole year. So looking, if you've held and accumulated Doge at the lows, and my father, who's 85, has Dogecoin. He bought it down here. Like, he's a Chad. My father's a Chad. He was buying at like 5 or 6 cents. So it'll be interesting to see how high this thing goes. But it's got now the, built-in catalyst of Elon in a huge position. It's going to be fun to watch. Yeah, big hack on Bing X. Doge, Elon sitting in a government chair. Yeah. Let's talk about OMI, which I haven't spoken about. I think it was last month. Let's bring up the chart. Chart's not pretty. I'm sure everyone who's holding OMI knows. It's been a big part of the OMI community for years. I no longer hold OMI. I still root for the token, for the community, and I still follow very, very closely. But OMI's been plagued by some problems, and I'm hearing, a lot of people proclaim, first and foremost, proclaim it dead. A lot of people ask if it's going to recover. So I wanted to give my thoughts on it because I do have thoughts on it, and there are good and bad thoughts about it. I'll start with some of the good things, all right? Because a lot of times people only talk about the negative, right? But I try to be balanced and objective with, my thoughts. And, there are some good things that they've done. And one is migrating to Base and making the token more accessible over there. I thought that was a really good decision. Another thing is bringing on Ben Rose, I think, as co-CEO. I think that was a good decision to help improve communication. And part of their issues have revolved around communication. It's been horrific. It's been absolutely horrible. There's no sugarcoating it. And I think that I think that's something that everyone can agree on, that their communication has been really bad. And so Ben has made it a point to be more visible. He gave an interview yesterday with VV Vantage. I only saw pieces of it. So the communication can only improve from there. Community is still super passionate, really strong community. They've started with OMI to NFT. It hasn't had a lot of traction yet. Aren't a ton of transactions there on StackR. And they say VVverse is finally on the way in January of 2025. So there have been some, like fundamentally, it's a little better off, right, than it was last cycle, right, in terms of now actually having utility, being closer to VVverse and migrating to Base. So those things are positives. But the negatives are that they have an eroding user base. They need to increase their user base on VV. Part of that is macro, right? So I think that, there are no matter what they did, the macro has worked against them. They're in the NFT sector, digital collecting sector, that has not held up well. It's last cycle's narrative, right? The metaverse is last cycle's narrative. All right. So there's the macro kind of working against them. But on top of that, they've lost their own narrative because they took so long to deliver on these features that they promised 5 years ago, which is now half a decade, right? And they still haven't delivered on some of them. That when they did deliver Omi to NFT, it was met with apathy. And when they do deliver BVverse, it's likely to have less of an impact because people have grown apathetic. And that's what happens when too much time passes. People get frustrated and they stop caring, right? And so there's a lot of FUD. Some of it is extreme, but some of it is warranted in terms of like the frustrations that people have. I understand it. Now, does that mean that Omi can't recover? No, it's crypto, right? And there's still a strong community there. There's still a product, I think, in Vivi, in the collectibles that resonates with people, right? And so if you get a macro shift, and if they're able to, to do more and communicate better, there's a chance that the price could turn around. But short term, I could anticipate more downside actually. And if you look at one of the big problems for this token is the disproportionate distribution of it. There are many people with many tokens, hundreds of millions, and it sells off, right? So like, unlike the Metacade chart, right? You had a pump on Omi this week, but look at how it responded in the days after. And so the chart is, in my opinion, a reflection of the sentiment, right? There's like a chicken egg scenario. Is sentiment low because the chart is bad, or is the chart bad because sentiment is low? In my opinion, the chart reflects the sentiment. People have questioned whether or not Omi would miss the bull run. You've had Omi token holders who have held and accumulated through a hard bear market and watch the token depreciate more. In hindsight, you shouldn't accumulate any altcoin, right? In a bear market, aside from the blue chips. You should be accumulating Bitcoin, Solana, Ethereum, those blue chips. The rest, wait to bottom out. But the thing is that it hasn't quite bottomed out, right? And so you have people who have been accumulating. The bags are heavier. It's a second cycle coin. And what happens is that they worry about missing on other opportunities because now we're at the time there are other opportunities. It's not difficult to catch a 10x in this coming market that we're in. If you choose a good project in a good sector, you're going to get 5x's, 10x's, 20x's. If you're lucky, you'll catch 100x. It's not easy, right? But they're there. And so when people worry and wonder, is this going to miss the bull market, they sell, and it adds sell pressure. They're tired of holding. They don't want to miss out. Gains are ahead of them. The team hasn't quite delivered. They haven't delivered on the Omi side. Right? That's an objective truth in my opinion. So can it go higher? Yes, I think that there's still time. I think we have a year ahead of us. I think that, macro shift in the sector could change. I think that, there could be like so many things that could spark a change in momentum, right? But the issue is how much sell pressure will there be? And that's what has been an issue for Omi. So, I don't think it's dead. I think that it could come back. I think that it has an uphill battle, and I think it could go lower because it still has $100 million market cap, right? And, we look at the price in 0003 and that seems crazy. That's so low. It's so cheap. How can it go any lower? Look at it relative to other projects that people are buying. right? If you look at it, I just mentioned Naka. Naka has the same market cap. But this is the yearly chart. It's not as right. It looks much better. It's in a hotter sector. You look at, I like Relio Network is another one. The market cap, I think, this is wrong. It's like 40 million or 50 million. I forget. But this is a $50 million market cap. And it's an RWA play that started at 11 cents. I started at, actually, it bottomed out at a penny. People were buying this at a penny. I bought this at 11 cents. If you got like Tectum, and I'm just bringing up coins that I follow. This is a $70 million market cap. So you can't look at OMI and say it can't go lower because the price is 0003. The price is still, close to $100 million market cap. And there are other coins in that range that people might think can put in more X's, that are in a hot narrative, that are first cycle coins, right? And that have better charts and more momentum and catalysts. And so that's an issue. Yesterday, Ben Rose was on the VV Vantage podcast, and he was asked about VV and OMI and his role. And he said he works on both sides of it, but he works more on the VV side, but he does work on the OMI side, but that they are prioritizing VV, right? So that is, again, something that people don't want to hear who hold OMI. So my hope for OMI is that they prioritize OMI, that they go balls to the wall on prioritizing OMI, put money into marketing, have an ambassador program, market the token, try to get it on big exchanges. It has very little token awareness outside of this community, right? If you speak to people outside of the OMI and VV community, even though it's been around for 4 or 5 years, there are many that don't know it. So they've got to get on those exchanges, big exchanges, not small exchanges. They've got to deliver. Maybe it bottoms out soon and then starts to rebuild some strength. But those are my thoughts. I think that Dan Crothers gave an interview recently where I forget which one it was. Oh, it was when they were talking about the VVverse, when they were talking about launching it. And he said that they hadn't really been working on it for the last year. And to me, that's emblematic of their issues with communication, right? So they first launched it in beta in, I want to say like August of 2023. Yeah, August 2023. And everyone was excited. If you look at the chart back then, it was bullish, right? It was a spike up, 001. It broke 001. There was enthusiasm, a shift in sentiment. The tide was turning. Months went by. There was no progress. Dan said in November of that year that in a fortnight, they would start letting everyone in. Fast forward a whole year, and there was no communication around it until last week when he said that they weren't even working on it, really. They had to work on VV Comics. So that, to me, is emblematic of the issues that they've faced. Horrible communication and an inability to deliver on all the tasks that they set out for themselves. All of these initiatives that they promised, they haven't been able to, chew gum and walk at the same time. Is that the saying? Yeah. So we'll see what happens. But, I don't think it's going to be hard, in my opinion, for them to get back to all-time highs. And this chart doesn't have all-time highs because they had migrated from GoChain to IMX. But their all-time high is a little over a penny. I can't see it, but we'll see. Time will tell. I hope it puts in all-time highs. I hope that people make money and get back, but time is going to tell. Those are my updated thoughts there. Let's shift back to some market talk with Ron. What's good, brother?
What's up, Danny? What's happening, man?
How are you?
Hold on 1 second. I got the stream on my TV. I was getting some feedback.
Yeah, go ahead.
What's up, Danny? What's happening, man? How are you? Hold on 1 second. I got the stream on my TV. I was getting some feedback.
Yeah. How do you explain meme coins hitting again? No, let me just answer this question. Meme coins are hitting bigger than last cycle, right? So meme coins are just more accessible. They're easily minted on Solana, on Base, and people just love them, understand them. And there's a whole underbelly in this space that only trades meme coins. And I think like they're kind of like the NFT, kind of like how the NFT cycle performed last time around. NFTs, I mean, meme coins are replacing NFTs from last cycle. Would you agree with that, Ron?
Yeah, I was going to talk about meme coins a little bit too. Earlier in the cycle, like when everything started to pop off, I said meme coins are different this cycle. Now, I'm not saying I called it like they would be this big and important, but I did say they were going to be different because, when you have a legit project, whether it's gaming or whatever, you have a lot of overhead that comes along with that. And when you make a meme coin, the only purpose is to make money, so all the funds that you have for it are to continue to, whether it's pay for marketing, exchange listings, whatever, it's all for that purpose of making money, where you don't have near as much overhead involved with a meme coin. And, you touched on it earlier in the stream when you said, at the end of the day, a lot of this stuff is just a meme coin. People are kind of on to crypto utility. There are projects out there that have legitimate utility. Like, there's so many crypto projects, you couldn't really put an accurate percentage on it now. But if you say out of the top, to say 500 to 1,000 crypto projects, I think it's generous to say 5% have some utility. But like Mask, that's a project that has, in my opinion, real world utility. It's a browser and they integrate the token with, you share your bandwidth and then people can use, and it's more secure than a VPN. So there are projects out there with real world utility. But then you look at Mask, like it's done. I mean, it's not that it's done terrible. It's done kind of like with the rest of the market, but it hasn't done unbelievably great or anything like that. And I think that that's the one that you could definitely point to with real world utility. So, but he has to pay devs. He's got to pay for tech. And the only way they can do that is to sell tokens or have VC investors, projects that do that. So there's no surprise, kind of when you think about crypto and memes, that they're doing well this cycle. In a way, it brings kind of the power back to the people with the memes. That Murad guys talked about this a little bit, how like these coins, when you look at the tokenomics, there was like a seed round and a pre-sale, there's all this money in before it even hits the market. Like Devi is an example of that a little bit. I'm not fudding it or anything like that, but there was a lot of pre-sale seed rounds, all this kind of stuff. I mean, going back years before it hit the market. So then when people buy the launch, they think they're getting a deal. And there's people that are up like 100x from the time it launches, from when they got in, from knowing people or their VCs or whatever.
I think the first pre-sale on Devi was like 5 cents or something like that.
Mm-hmm. It was like 2017 or something. It was a while back too.
Yeah.
And I'm not picking on Devi. That's just one project that I knew about, had a lot of pre-sales. But there's lots of tokens you can look at, and they have that. I think that guy pointed out that if you look at like all the ones that projects that have posted on, been listed on Binance over, can't forget what time frame he used, but they were all down from the time they went on Binance, except for 2, and one of them was a meme coin.
Yeah. So you expect a super cycle
with memes or just in general?
Well, both.
I think memes will continue to do well. I think you're going to see also what you've seen, where a lot of them just flare up and then die. But I think that a lot of them will do good. It also depends on how well normies adopt to Solana and Base, I think. And we're going to talk about, or if you want to, towards the end, we'll talk about another ecosystem where I think there's a lot of untapped potential. I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. Where
Casper.
meme coins, the Casper
Yeah.
ecosystem. And I think that could be make a big push this cycle as well. As far as the greater cycle in general, I think this is. I mean, you talking about earlier in the stream, like the stars are really lining up for everything that you could ask for with Trump winning the election. And I'm not trying to lose any more friends over politics. I don't care who you vote for, whatever. But obviously, we're in crypto. Trump was the better choice, so we're happy about that. And it's not just Trump. JD Vance, a big Bitcoin holder, crypto guy. I've heard he holds a lot of AVAX, so maybe not a bad idea to get a small bag of AVAX. And there's just so many catalysts. If Trump really does do the strategic Bitcoin reserve and the United States doing that, so many other countries are going to start buying Bitcoin. And country adoption has always been like the real, like if that ever happens, then watch out. Then Bitcoin's really gonna take off. And then you still got, I think you're gonna start seeing more like billionaires. Not just be like Michael Saylor and a handful. I think you're going to start seeing more of them getting on board.
And companies, right? Companies putting it on their balance sheet.
Yeah, and the ETF just keeps gobbling it up. I mean, it's amazing that it's bigger than the gold ETF now. So,
what are your thoughts on how high do you think Bitcoin can get this cycle? How bullish are you, Ron? Let's see.
Well, if these things all come together, I mean, it could get in the hundreds of thousands, like multiple hundreds of thousands.
You think it'd break 200?
Yeah.
Let's go.
I mean, I'm not too big on price targets that don't have any reason, like just blindly saying price target. So I think the only thing you could extract from a chart right now, if you said it's like a bull flag, that it could be somewhere between around 150 would be the measured move target. But that's just what you could extract from on chart right now, technically. When you talk about fundamentals and what could happen this cycle. And the thing is, these entities that are buying so much, they're not really buying it to sell it. Michael Saylor, the ETFs, if the governments do start buying it, which I'm not sure if they'll buy it, but if they have just the news that they'll have a strategic reserve, that means they're not going to sell what they have. And the United States is one of, I think they're top 5 Bitcoin holder. So, these things could add up. And I do think that it could get up. And I think it's going to be the last major cycle like this. I think it'll just be more widely adopted. And if you don't have a vicious bear market, then you can't have that parabolic bull market. I'm not saying that Bitcoin won't take a chop at some point and go into some kind of bear market type phase, but I don't think it's going to be as severe as what we've seen in the past. But some of this could actually be not good for the long-term future of Bitcoin.
Why is that?
Because as the halving rewards diminish over time, the plan kind of was that the miners would get paid off of the network fees, and with the ETFs holding it, like they're just holding it. So it's not moving on chain. So like same thing if countries adopted and stuff like that, and it just sits there because Bitcoin was made as a peer-to-peer cash. So if it's just sitting, then the network fees aren't going to add up enough. I mean, you're talking about like, 10 years probably or something like that, to where at what point is it not profitable for the miners because the rewards are so small and they're not getting that extra, the network fees, because they get that with the reward too. Like when the ordinals were really popping off, it was making the miners like, wow, they're getting all this extra revenue from the transactions on chain. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It'll be interesting to play out. What about Ethereum? You think ETH can hit 10K this cycle?
Yeah. I've always been a believer in ETH, and there was so much FUD going on around about it. I never faded it for a second. I have more ETH than Bitcoin, a lot more ETH than Bitcoin. I mean, ETH is deflationary. It gives yield. There's an ETF for that as well. Something I've said before is ETH isn't just a cryptocurrency. It's the currency of crypto.
Yeah.
And especially when you're talking about memes this cycle, well, anything that's on ETH or base is going to be paired with ETH. So like ETH is the currency of those memes. Like Chuck, for example, you buy it with ETH and it's paired with ETH, and it extracts its value as liquidity pool in ETH. So NFTs on ETH, they're priced in ETH. Like ETH is a currency, like a real currency. And I think this isn't a secret. I think that one reason you're seeing a pump now is the people talking about Gensler being gone. They've been a big fighter of staking and stuff like that. So now, if these big entities, they love that, staking something that they have a lot of money in and getting this percentage, this yield from it. So yeah, I think that ETH is cemented in crypto like legacy or whatever. You got all these layer twos on top of it. So yeah, I don't see ETH going anywhere at all. There's so much FUD on it, and I was like, yeah, this is. I was buying in the low 2000s for sure.
Do you think eventually it'll get like AOL'd and be old to tech if they're not able to successfully upgrade in time? Because now you're seeing like, Solana is faster. You got other emerging platforms like Tectum and Devi trying to, solve the trilemma. Do you think it's possible that over time its stance erodes?
No, because the stuff gets built on top of it. So as long the layer twos are the key to it. So as long as the layer twos like Base and others build on top of it and have ecosystems on top of it, then the more ETH gets cemented and it can't go anywhere. So that's the key to it. That yeah, as the base layer, but then you look at these other blockchains, layer ones from last cycle, like ADA, well, Polkadot's technically not a layer one, but and AVAX, some of these, like they'll probably, have their day and do a little something, but the things have their best gains the first cycle, and ETH has stood the test of time. ETH is what's won, and now Solana isn't going anywhere. I think that's the that it'll have its own ecosystem and it'll succeed, and maybe Sui will be the Solana of this cycle. That kind of remains to be seen, and certainly the front runner. But there's only so much activity out there for all these blockchains to soak up. And in my opinion, ETH is cemented, with all the layer twos, especially. And like I said, it's like the currency of crypto, not just the cryptocurrency.
Yeah, 100%. Someone had asked, I think it's Harish here. Any thoughts on, so for me, Sol, I've thought, my price target this cycle was $750 around there. I could see it hitting 1,000. What are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I think it hit 1,000. I mean, once again, I'm not,
right,
take that to the bank or saying that for any kind of technical reason, but just fundamentally, yeah. I mean, it's all-time high. I think it's like 240 or something like that, like what it hit last cycle.
Yeah, and it's already surpassed its all-time high market cap because because of the inflation. So it's at now $93 billion. It passed its previous all-time high in terms of market cap, 260, I think, or something, 249. Is
for sure. If ETH is kind of like or if Solana is kind of like the ETH of this cycle of last bull market, then expect Solana and Solana projects to have great gains. Now I do think Base coming along, that maybe they took a little bit of a bite out of that, but Base is still up and coming too. Solana is more established because we like Solana a lot. A year or more ago, before the run started, we liked Solana a lot.
But Solana, you think like Solana memes have been putting in, there are a lot of them that have gotten up into like the 100. There's a lot of jittery on there also, but you got like Retardio. You got some good stuff out there that's gone into like hundreds of millions. Do you think that's also because of the rotation from Sol to meme coins? Because like myself, I accumulated Solana throughout the bear market. So there are a lot of people who bought Sol at $8, $15, $20, and they're kind of Sol rich.
Yeah, that's kind of how I blew some of it on stupid stuff and projects.
Me too.
I did it also on some projects that were good, and it was just like free money. Like, man, I was buying this stuff for $10 and stuff like that. Now it's at $80. So yeah, it's like got plenty of Sol to play with. So yeah, I think some of that's definitely it. But Solana, their whole plan from the start was like ease of use, and that's what they it's very easy to use, fast, cheap.
Yeah, Phantom Wallet's great.
Yeah, it's definitely great. A lot of maxis in crypto, and especially Bitcoin maxis and ETH maxis, they talk about Solana centralized, the security isn't good and stuff like that. People trying to just make money off meme coins or just crypto projects, they're not really caring about all that.
Yeah, 100%. I never, a lot of people said that and they fudded it. And when it was at $8, they were calling for $3. I remember very clearly, and it wasn't easy to buy. And even big people, prominent people on YouTube who are well established, I remember them saying they're not buying at $8 because it could go to $3. And now they're out here calling for, now they like, change their tune or whatever, but people were fudding it so hard.
Yep. And the Telegram I had back then, I was like, no, I'm buying the hell out of this at $8. And people are like, no, what? No, it's going to 2, it's going to 3. I was like, even if it does, even if it does, then I still think that bull market time, this is going to be a great investment.
Yeah, I know you love Sui also.
Yeah, going into the cycle, I kind of preach to people, if you want to do the layer ones or bigger caps, get ones that are in their first cycle. Like I said, Say and Sui. I thought Say would be big, but I had Sui as number 2. I had Say above Sui, so I was wrong there. But at least I had Sui as number 2, and I did have a bag at lower levels. And I think Say can still do okay. Say, Celestia, that's another one. Then some kind of like layer 2s like that, Manta. And I'm not saying that I love those Manta and Celestia, but I like them better than Ada and other like Litecoin and dinosaur layer ones.
Litecoin. I don't know how does anyone buy Litecoin?
I bet the market cap's still big.
Market cap is still a top. Where's Litecoin? I think it's top. Oh, got pushed. Did it get pushed? It's still in the top 20. That's crazy.
Yeah. Market cap, what's the $72? $5 billion.
5.5. That's crazy.
And there's some bag holders in that right there. The bloated market cap of bag holders. People that bought it from last cycle still holding to try to get out.
Yeah. I don't know that's crazy.
Yeah. XRP. XRP it could get an ETF potentially. It could get ETF talk and it could get some financial adoption. So XRP might be a little better than some of the other dinosaur coins, but I don't love it either. I still think your money's better off elsewhere.
But ADA, I don't know. Did you see what they're doing now with Bitcoin and trying to scale that? Or I didn't read. I just saw like headlines and snapshots of it.
Yeah, they need to do something because it's a boring project. It doesn't. It's boring. They don't do anything. They try to do NFTs. Those didn't do well as they did on other chains. Just DEX is just like a boring project.
Yeah, they were overly like complicated in terms of like, I think Charles got way too technical.
Yeah, some devs say like they really like the tech behind ADA, but at the end of the day, that's not. You need more than that.
How are you positioned now in terms of like micro caps to? I have all small caps. I'm DGen Danny. I'm gonna rotate back into like Bitcoin, at the end.
Yeah, I'm mostly in alts that are in their first cycle, but I hedge my bets a little bit. Things that I got that are in their second cycle: Naka, Injective, Link. I got some Link because at the end of the day, chains still need oracles. So I think Link is okay. But layer 1, yeah, Injective. That's the only really one I think I have like that. I think Injective is good. But no ADA, no Polkadot, no AVAX. Although I did say JD Vance has some, so maybe it's not the worst thing to buy a little bit of AVAX.
I think AVAX will do well this cycle. I can see it getting above 100.
Yeah, out of the blockchains from last cycle, I like AVAX better than most. But yeah, most things at this point in the game, last year I think it's kind of showed you some projects that are going to be winners. Largely go off narrative. And try to diversify and go into things by narrative. So I think AI, first and foremost, is going to be the top narrative. The memes are big too, but there's a lot of memes. There's like thousands made every day. So it's easier to find the winners with the AI, I think, than it is with the memes. But I think there'll still be a lot of winning meme coins that come out. There's gaming. I still think gaming is good. Gaming started off this cycle really strong, and it's cooled off, but that's good. Getting some of these people that bought out lower, getting some of them out of it. Gaming is still such a huge market worldwide that I still think they can get normies in, and that gaming can still do well. So I still like gaming as the number 2 narrative. I like RWA. I think I liked it more as like the 4th or 5th narrative. Now it's probably, I'd say, like 3. And RWA could end up having real world implications. I don't know that it will this cycle.
Yeah.
So I go in by narrative and projects that make sense. I think the last year's kind of showed its hand on what the winners are. And instead of going like, find the lowest cap now, it's more about finding what you think is like promising. Like instead of looking on Morales money for new AI projects that are coming out, I think it's better just to put it in AI tech or TARS AI or
something that's proven.
Yeah, something that, but also probably that's still looking predominantly for things in the first cycle. I mean, I do have some exceptions of things that are in the second cycle, but generally speaking, things are going to do best in their first cycle. So I got, they're low cap, relatively speaking, like Tectum, for example. I think it's like, 70 million market cap?
Yeah.
At this stage in the game, I'm fine with that. A year ago, I would have looked for something cheaper than 70 million. But now, yeah, I'm okay with Tectum at 70 million for sure.
Because there's a level of confidence that comes with it, right? I mean, we saw it bottomed out at about $4 or $5 in August. Recovered nicely now. It's consolidating in this $9 range between $8 to $10, but all-time high about 45. And the narrative, like we talked about, layer ones being overcrowded field, and you don't really need them. But the thing about Tectum is that it's got the soft node technology that plays into the whole scaling of Bitcoin. And now you've got like, Trump proposing no tax on Bitcoin on, and not that I don't think people are going to rush to spend Bitcoin. I don't think that's going to be a thing just yet, but the narrative of it is what matters. And the narrative of soft node technology being able to transact privately and efficiently and quickly, using Tectum's technology, you've got the layer one narrative and the Bitcoin narrative.
Yep. And the payment narrative too.
Yeah.
And so I actually consider Tectum as one of the cryptos that have utility. And yeah, I think Tectum could get in the billions. I mean, not a guarantee, but yeah, I think Tectum is a big time likely winner of this cycle. I like it a lot.
Yeah. How about Jasmy? I've never gotten into Jasmy too much, but I know a lot of people. Brian likes it.
Yeah, the same with me. I've seen, I think it's pretty good, but I never really went into it too hard.
Yeah, and here it is. Let me just pull it up. Is that $1 billion? That's nice. Is that Jasmy? There you go.
And this last 6 months has been great for the gaming sector because a lot of projects got washed out because gaming was getting too saturated.
Yeah.
Way too oversaturated. And that was the problem. Then I started being like, well, there's just so many gaming projects out here now. But a lot of, even though I lost money on a couple of them, ultimately, I'd rather lose the money I had in, what was that one in Solana?
Oh, I know. I know which one you're talking about.
Yeah.
OTK?
HGT.
Oh, that's a different one. Yeah.
Yeah. It looked promising. It was doing pretty good. I was in the pre-sale on it and I was way up. And then it was like, I think it ended up rugging. But, so I'd rather lose the money I had in that and then end up hitting a huge X gain on Metacade and gains for a living and playable games and the ones that survive that are more legit. So I think a lot of these gaming projects getting washed out ultimately is a good thing for the gaming sector.
Because again, like you said earlier, they've showed their hands now, right? So now it's clear who the prospective winners are. These people who have shown that they're building, that they're, developing. I mean, Metacade has its utility now with, they play to earn tournaments. They're partnering with a whole bunch of meme projects, and they have their AI marketing, software or project that they sell to their partners. So they have revenue coming in.
And they have the monthly revenue from the Game Pass too. Metacade.
They got rid of that. I think they got rid of that.
Oh,
yeah, they got rid of that model.
Either way, Metacade is just from the start has just tried to adapt. That we'll try anything. We'll move with the market. We'll do whatever. And with the meme tournaments that you touched on earlier, you're bringing in those communities to get exposure to your project. And like with Chuck, when we did the thing with them, we had to provide the reward tokens. So it's not a huge cost to the meme coin project, but it keeps them, if they did it every time, it would add up for Metacade. So they're getting the meme coins to basically pay for the rewards. And that's smart.
Yeah.
Let more sell pressure off of Metacade.
Yeah. And then they're getting exposure, like you said, to all these communities, right? Now you throw it out to the whole base cartel. There are about 50 projects in there.
He bridged the base Russ did when, base was still up and coming, and he wasn't scared to take that chance and be the first real gaming project on base. You're definitely seeing so much more talk about it on social media now. Yeah, believe it or not, I've been in Metacade, games for a living, and playable games since day one of the launches of the projects.
Yeah, no, that's good shit right there.
Paying attention in the bear market.
Yeah. And I mean, now with Off the Grid, being successful and getting a lot of attention, and you got GTA 6 coming out right in the middle of the bull market, and regardless of whether or not they have crypto attached to it, it's going to just reignite the whole gaming narrative, I think. So the catalysts are there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're going to see the some gaming stuff. Like some news will come up, whether some big game like GTA 6 is going to use crypto, or GameStop's going to speculate on it, or something will happen.
And there'll just be a natural rotation. Also, I feel like everyone I know that buys utility tokens has gaming tokens.
Yeah, I mean, it is utility.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
So everyone's in the sector, right? So, even if like AI runs first and RWA runs first, there's going to be rotation into the sector that hasn't run yet because everyone's eyeing it. So I think it'll be like a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think so too.
Harish has a couple of yeah. Are these two of your favorites, AI Tech and AGI for AI?
Yeah, definitely. AGI is one of my biggest bags because I bought a lot at the bottom when it's rock bottom. So like with that and Rio, I have a lot because it's not that I don't buy too much of those now, but I bought them at such good prices that I did, well, and I have big bags of them.
I've got a lot of Rio because I bought it cheap, but I don't have any. I should have. I regret not buying AGI cheap. Yeah, but it's all good. AGI is going to do well, and as is I think AI Tech.
Yeah, I mean AI Tech's a project that could have some real world utility in with it. So yeah, I think that it can do pretty good. It's one that I buy the most now. I buy like probably AI Tech and Tectum the most when I'm looking to buy something now. Just throw money at stuff.
Yeah, Harish is asking if you have a target for Rio.
Is it just me, or is it hard to figure out what the market cap of Rio is?
No, I know what it is, but it's yeah. Hold on, I think on CoinGecko. Let me pull it up. Give me a second. Let me look at my phone. Yeah, you got to look in the right place. It's really annoying when let's see. No, it's not there. Where the hell is it? Let me pull up my other app. 37 now.
37 million, that's it?
Yeah.
Okay, well. Wow. I mean, I don't think it's out of the question to go to $1 billion, right? I mean,
I don't think so. Yeah, I think it could go to $1 billion.
It's definitely a flagship RWA project. So
let me see. I think Crypto Ruby put out. Let me find my bookmarks.
I think Crypto Lord, he said, $10 to $15.
Yeah, I could see it beyond it. I mean, it could, like you said, like no one knows, right, where things will end up. But prospectively, hold up.
I know the dilution isn't that bad. It's a lot over time, but it's not like it's just like a little bit per year. It's not like
for this cycle. So there was a lot of fun around it recently because they voted to increase supply by a lot of tokens, but it's over the course of 40 years. So it won't have any effect. I think it's like maybe at most 10% dilution in the next year. It's not going to have any effect on this cycle. So that was, to me, unwarranted FUD, right? Because I don't think anyone's planning to hold beyond, unless you're planning to hold it for 30 years, right? Yeah. But
that $10 to $15 range looks reasonable.
It's doable. Yeah, I think at $15, $20, a billion, 1.1 billion, I think that's doable. Because what's going to happen is I agree that we're nowhere near, the actuality of like tokenizing everything, right? It's not going to happen this cycle.
Yeah.
You need regulation in place, you need to work out all the details. That's not going to happen. But the prospect of it and the narrative of Larry Fink saying that BlackRock is going to tokenize all of real estate and the bonds market, that narrative will drive these tokens. And when Larry Fink first said that, Rio went to $3.
Yep. I totally agree. I mean, it's a news-driven market. It's a narrative-driven market. So I would not be surprised to see that $10 to $15 range for Rio. And something we mentioned earlier in the stream, the Caspa ecosystem. That's something we got in on Telegram recently. We had some guys in there do really well on it. One dude, my homie Big Walls, he on a $500 Caspa play got 120K unrealized right now. And he has taken profits on that. People are like, oh, you got to take profit. But it's a little bit different with the Caspa ecosystem. Everything, generally speaking, is fair launch. So like when you buy a token, you're minting it. So you mint the tokens as you buy them. So it's such more of an even playing field. There are tokens that are pre-mint, but like the guys that I know that have done well on Caspa, they don't even touch those. So everything is like fair launch. So, you're buying the bottom until it's minted out, just like the people who made the coin are. They can't make the coin and then have some stashed away to dump on you.
So they put the coin out and everything in circulating supply gets minted.
Yep. And you mint it as you buy it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. That's
so dope. It's a little, I'm not saying it's complicated to use now, but it's not as easy as like Solana or Base to just go up there and buy something.
Yeah. So where do you even access?
It's a Telegram bot. Yeah, the Caspa bot or something like that. And you set up several wallets. Like the home screen has got a place where you can set up like 10 wallets, and you want to set up a good amount of wallets because gas can be a thing when there's something minting that's hot. So you want to like go through the different wallets. So I've seen stuff like this before, to where when it starts, it's complicated. Those are the early days. Yeah. Even the best good to get off of it is already passed on the Caspa ecosystem. Like, Walls hitting that. I mean, what is that math wise? $500 to 120K. I don't even
That's
know.
A lot.
Yeah, I don't know what that is in excess, but it's also because of the way the token launches and you mint everything. There's no liquidity pool. So it's like VV where you have to have a buyer. So that's why Walls, he can't just dump that 100. He would have to find somebody like who want to buy the whole 120K. I mean, he can sell little bits at a time or whatever the case. Now, if he gets listed on an exchange, then, you can sell what is going to get bought on the exchange. And a lot of these Caspa projects have been listed on exchanges or in the process of it. But there is no, like I said, if you make the project, the tokens are being minted as you buy them. So there is no liquidity pool. So you can't just dump. And that's another actual advantage. So we're definitely in the Telegram going to be looking at a lot of Caspa plays over the coming months and probably looking to make our own as well.
Yeah, I see a lot of opportunity, and some of the opportunities haven't been born yet, right? Like last cycle, I think Mcade came out during the cycle, right? And that was a big winner. And other things, maybe Sandbox or just one of them came out like during the cycle. So they're going to be things that launch during the cycle. They're not out yet. You got to be ready. You got to have your eyes open. You got to be grinding ear to the street and try to be early.
Yeah. And I think for the most part, all these Caspa projects are meme coins. But, we're definitely going to be looking to make some and to get on and see what we can do with making our own Caspa projects.
That's pretty dope. So you're going to open up Telegram for people we're going to run it for another year?
Yeah, I'm going to keep doing it. I had, a lot of people that in there know I had a rough go the last several months. My mother passed away recently. She had brain cancer. So I was tending to her and taking care of her and some other things. So I'm getting back to myself, kind of getting back on the grind more. Going to start trying to, do more streams and things again. And going into next year, I put out a video on the Telegram the other day talking about what more the focus is going to be going into next year. So yeah, I'm going to run it for another year. People who are already a member, I would like to give them a pretty good discount, but start probably promoting it and opening it up to new people as well. Again, I hadn't really promoted it much over the last several months. But I
Yeah.
like to get another 100 or 200 people in for some of the plays we'd like to do. It's really a very team effort in there with a lot of the things that we do.
Yeah, 100%. It's been great. I've gotten a lot of the plays that I'm in are because of the talk over there. And it's also going to be valuable to network with people, because there's what's going to be challenging the next year is selling, right? And creating an exit strategy, because there are going to be times when, right now, everything looks great, right? We have the perfect setup. I can envision a time 3-4 months from now where there are headlines, some bad employment data comes out, or inflation ticks up, something happens and the recession fears come back, or something happens in the Middle East, and all of a sudden, the markets drop 30%. That can be jarring if your portfolio gets to a certain level and you've gone through this whole cycle up until now, and your portfolio is up here, and then it drops 30%, and you got all these headlines going at you. It can be stressful. So
yeah, I mean, last market there was a dump because the hash rate fell down, and Bitcoin dumped pretty good. Like, they use anything to take some profits and buy back a little lower and let the run go on. Just because you start to see signs of normies come in the market, that doesn't mean that means you're just getting cooking, because you have to remember the way these things work. Normies have to make money off of it first. They have to make money before they start raiding their 401ks and taking mortgages on their homes and doing all these things for the real blow off top. I called the top of last market and the bottom, so I have confidence in myself again that I'm going to do it again this market. And that doesn't mean I'll call every single alt on the top, but I think I'll get Bitcoin relatively close. I have confidence that I will. So if you go by Bitcoin, that everything else just fall into place. You'll get close enough.
Yeah. And last time was complicated. We had a double top, right, in the market where they hit 60. Did it hit 60 twice? Or 50?
Yeah, it went to 64, I think, and then came back and went to 69, 420.
Yeah.
And then that's when I was like, yeah, party's over.
So it did a 50% drop, right? So bull markets, they call a bull market for a reason, because the bull will try to throw you off of it, right?
Yeah.
And, it went from 60 all the way down to 31,000. So I want you to envision this. Right now, everything feels great, and it feels like it's going to be easy in a bull run. But think about, whatever a big number is to you. Let's say you hit it, your portfolio is $500,000. To watch that get cut in half. And then
it'll be a lot more than half. If Bitcoin takes a 50% cut, the alts are going to say massive cuts.
Right. So imagine you're a $500,000 bag and you're thinking you're on the precipice of finally, being debt free or whatever, and having that cut down to 100,000, and then getting shaken out the market. It's going to be wild.
Yep. I mean, so that, say Bitcoin hits 120K and then you're back lower than we are right now.
Yeah.
A lot of it has to do with TA and market structure. I even said when it started to come down from the 60 last time we overheated that we're probably going back to low 30s, and that's why we're going lower than that. We even went into the 20s, but those were wicks, I think, at the end of the day. And I think, and I've heard other people say this too, that this cycle seems to be more reminiscent of the 2017 cycle, which wasn't a double top.
Yeah.
So I don't know. You just have to read the price action. I think it's possible we could have some kind of banana zone action where we go up a lot, and then we have some kind of period like we have now, or what we've had for, maybe it's not 6 months like it's been now, but maybe it's something like that where it starts to range a lot, and then people start to lose interest. And maybe it's not a 50% chop like last time, but that it ranges and then alts just slowly kind of bleed down, and then you get the next leg up. Maybe that could be a possibility. I can see happening.
Yeah. Pixel was good. Pixel. Yeah, I hope the hard work is going to pay off. I'm sure of it. It's going to be fun. It'll be stressful, but we're going to do it together.
Chart right now, Bitcoin looks like textbook, like breakout price discovery. I mean, the weekly closes tomorrow.
Yeah.
I can't see it selling off a whole lot and leaving a long wick up there and closing below structure on this Sunday going into tomorrow. So, I mean, you're still going to get red candles, probably, on daily and weekly timeframes, but this is textbook. This is like what you've been looking for to see on chart with ETH too.
What do you want to see tomorrow at the daily close, the weekly close?
I mean, if it just stays like this, that's plenty fine. If it closes,
if it went down, let's say to 71,000.
Hold on 1 second. So I'm gonna share my screen. Can you see that, Danny?
Yeah, let me pull it up for you. There you go.
So this is the all-time high. So we're closing well above this. You saw a wick there. Last week's close wasn't great, but with a double top there. But this week recovered the election news and all that stuff. You're closing well above it. So one thing that how traders look at these candles are, it closes. You want to close it above its midpoint and still considered bullish. So that means even if you close down here around 72, it's still, as long as it stays above that, it's still above the candle's midpoint. And that's still considered bullish. It would be closing below structure, but that would be such a chop in one day on a Sunday at that. I don't see that. The higher it closes on the candle, the better, but this is plenty fine right here where it's at. You're closing like how much above the all-time high. If it stayed here, I'm getting close to 4% above the all-time high on a weekly close. The higher the time frame close, the more confirmation, the more it matters. ETH, I've had this structure drawn out, this long-term trend line. This is where I was buying it big when this hits this zone right here. It was in this ascending triangle. Look at that, breaking out. I mean, there ain't nothing in its way. It should come up here before it really start. I don't see anything in its way.
4,000?
No, this is 32. This is like 32. So I think it should keep going up here until you start to see any selling. But that it's primed to start going up back, and it's marched back up to 4,000. That's what I think what we should see with ETH. But this is a breakout candle. It's breaking out of this formation. I mean, if you want to extract a technical target out of it and say it was in this range and it breaks out from here, and that's when you get confluence like that, that's good. This little swing high here. So you probably see a cool off phase for ETH at 3,600, somewhere around there. Probably see some run up until that point before there's some significant profit taking, if I had to say.
Yeah. So you think so? If we get a nice close on Bitcoin, maybe we see a move to 80 next week.
Yeah, I mean, you can still have profit taking. It can still have a red candle next week. I would assume it probably wouldn't. I assume it would probably keep going. That's breakout price action. Bitcoin dominance it's been high. It's been just a straight uptrend for a very long time now. Let's go back here to like last cycle. See, it can still go. It went up here in December 20, going 73%. So
what did it go up to? 73
for the wick.
Wick, yeah.
So that's here the body's like 70. But you're getting, that is a bearish candle. So Bitcoin dominance, I know like people like Benjamin Cohen's kind of made it famous. This isn't even a tradable chart. Benjamin Cohen is not a trader. He doesn't know, lots of things that he says aren't really so. But he's obsessed with his Bitcoin dominance chart, and I think he puts way too much into it. It's something to reference in times like this. So maybe you could start to see ETH coming back first and foremost, but I don't think that this is the point to where it's going to trail off, because if Bitcoin's going to march up to 80, 100K, it should take the dominance with it. It really should. Now, Solana and ETH is really, because alts haven't been doing, alts have went up over the last week, but ETH and Solana are what most of this candle is, I think.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I mean, look, you got some bear like that candle there, and it still ended up marching up. So it's good to see dominance start to go down a little bit, but I'm not in no way, shape, or form or saying this is time for alts to start running.
Yeah, we still got time. I was saying that before, that it could be early next year when we really start seeing alts start. But you don't really get those major gains on alts until the towards the end. Yeah,
don't forget how this works. BTC, ETH, alts. It's done that time and time again when you had the biggest gains. So if it's not broke, don't fix it. I expect to see that again.
Yeah. So now your strategy is just DCA into alts at these prices?
Yeah, projects I think are winners. Yeah, I have money. I buy little bits of AI tech every day. Things I think are good projects. Um, just buy little bits at a time of them. Don't obsess about the bottom at this point. It'll all end up being a good price. Say we're going to look at something like, just say Tectum, for example. Like, you could say, well, I could set some limit orders here where these wicks are, and maybe I can get it in the $7.50 to $6.20 range. You could. For me, the opportunity cost is a little high for that. If I had $10,000 looking to still spend, I would not go put the whole $10,000 right now. Maybe you spend 500 or 1,000 or something like that, and continue to do little bits by each day. And then if it does come down to this zone, you still have a few thousand or whatever to go in on it.
Yeah, because the thing is, you could see something like Metacade, right, where it could just pop off, and then you're left sitting on your hands, right? Sometimes people try to get too cute with the price.
That's normally how it works out. Like you could have said the same thing over here with TET.
Yeah.
Say, okay, it's a red candle, and be like, okay, well, I'm going to buy it where these this wick is over here. I'm going to set orders, and then look the next week, it went off and didn't come back until months later. And next time prices go up like this, you're probably not going to be looking to buy it back when it's back at those prices again. There becomes a point in the crypto market cycle where no, you don't want to do that. Now, this right here I know it's from this head and shoulders that is on here. It's a measure move from the breakout from the head and shoulders from TET, which is $23, which doesn't mean you want to sell it all at $23, but $23, you could start having some decent profit taking maybe and go down. But, when you're talking about projects that you want to hold for the bull run, a lot of that is fundamental based on fundamentals on what you think will do good.
Yeah.
I feel like, yeah.
Our last question before we wrap up. We've been on for an hour and a half here. Josh asking, could we have a blow off top?
I mean, I expect it.
Yeah.
Yeah. With alts anyway, I don't think.
I think he means a blow off top instead of like a double top.
Yeah. I think that's probably more likely this cycle, seeing that we've seen it play out more like 2017.
Yeah, I hope so, man, because that'd be way less stressful.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Yeah, last one. I said the last one, but Harish, does Ron see TET hitting 500?
So at a set, I'm not sure about all the token dilution, but it's at like a 70 million.
Not a lot. Yeah, it's not a lot of dilution coming in the next year.
At $9, so that's like a 50x, 50 times 70.
So 3.5 bill.
Something like that. I mean, yeah, it could do that.
Yeah, I can see it. I mean, it's got the potential to hit that, right? I don't know that it will, but
yeah, Crypto Seth, he's somebody I respect, and I think he said I think I heard him say he didn't count TET hitting TET hitting 1,000.
Yeah, I agree with that. Also, I think it could hit 1,000. I mean, it sounds crazy right now because it's $10, but that's a $7 billion market cap for a layer one, right? With the scale with
scalability, with payment solutions,
the scalability of
the fastest blockchain. Well, at times the fastest blockchain. Yeah. I think it's got real world utility. Yeah, I don't think when you're talking about fundamentals, I don't think it's out of the question.
And another thing is people not to take profit too soon, right? In this type of market, when it goes up, things sometimes go higher than you thought, right? So,
yeah. I'm not a big indicator person, but because some people ask me, what do you look for? What some things you can look for? Well, if on the weekly, the RSI gets in the 90, you might want to start at least taking some profits. And look at here, last time TET, just for example, the RSI was in the 90, it was up here. And then, same thing kind of right there. And you saw that was when it was at some of its local highs. Let's look at just another random one. Same thing, AI tech. Up here in the 90s, or that may have been 80 on TET. But anyway, you get what I'm saying. Like when it's in the 80s, 90s on the RSI, that can be a good time to at least take profit. Not saying you sell out your whole bag. Yeah. I'm not a big indicator person.
Your strategy is to put it back into the chart on a dip or to move it into something else?
Well, so that's something you want to be careful of as the bull market progresses. to sell and then reinvest in other things, start getting comfortable with holding USDT and USDC and not spending it on things. And even maybe the things you spend on, the prices went up a little bit. Like here on Rio, you see the RSI was up here pretty high, and you did get some pullback, but ultimately, it wasn't too long before it went up much higher. So just say you sold part of your bag here, and that does happen. It goes up. You need to be comfortable with that, because every single alt, you cannot hit the top on every single alt. Like even using TA, because alts have tokenomics and teams and stuff like that. With stock and Bitcoin and Forex, you don't have, it's not as dangerous of a game of unknown factors that you don't know. So alts, even the best TA people in the world can't predict the top of every alt. So this is what happens to a lot of people. They do sell at good times, but then they look for what hasn't pumped yet. What's a deal? And, when this last run up, this bull market, we were doing some of that in Telegram group, looking at, people kept asking, what's still a deal? What's still a deal? And those ended up not being very good deals a good part of the time. So learn from those lessons and be comfortable at times cashing out a good profit and just holding that. And maybe you end up putting it back into something, maybe you don't. But don't beat yourself up if it goes up the following week and you're like, oh, I shot myself in the foot a little bit. Also, don't look at it as I have to sell the whole bag. Rio, Tectum, whatever. Say it does hit 90 on the RSI. You don't have to sell the whole thing. You can take 20%, 10% off the table, something like that. And then also get this in your head. You're going to want to probably, when you do finally sell whatever the biggest amount is, it'll be after a red candle, not after a green candle. You're going to have to cut loss at some point and say, okay, I think the party's over on this asset. I need to get out. And after some kind of red candle, instead of saying, oh, well, my unrealized was, 100,000 on that. Now it's only 80,000. I want that 100,000 price. It's better to take that gain that you're already up massively on than to have it bleed down, entering some kind of bear market phase. And then what you end up being. You end up being the bag holder. You end up being the person who's holding into the bear market, crossing their fingers, and talking themselves back into what's going to happen 4 years from now in this asset.
Yeah, there's a lot to digest and a lot to go through, right? And people need to be psychologically prepared. So everyone should be doing that right now, getting a plan in place, and it's going to be a fun ride. Ron, I want to thank you for jumping in.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Danny.
Yeah, I want to thank everyone for coming through to the stream on a Saturday. Make sure you hit the like button on your way out. Subscribe to the channel. Give Ron a follow on X and his own YouTube channel. Josh with a super chat. Thank you, brother. Chuck to $1. Let's go. Metacade to the moon. Appreciate you, Josh. We'll catch you guys in the next one.